Now here are some details on Goal 2. Committing Biden and the Dems to a broader social justice agenda before the election. Now, we need to do the hard work of political strategizing in order to pressure Joe and the Democratic Party. There are activists, organizers, and election strategists who are much more versed in all of this than I am. But I propose at least this one possibility, an approach that I'm sure already exists in some form for which I don't know the term. I'm just calling it the named deep bench strategy. We painstakingly identify a more progressive candidate, particularly of color, that could replace each and every moderate Democrat if they don't deliver in the next administration. Now, these more progressive folks have always been there, and their profiles are now raised by this crisis. Consider, for example, the mayors of Atlanta and St. Paul. Now, we obviously don't need to do this for AOC types, but we do want every elected moderate Democrat at every level of government possible to hear the following message. If you don't work for a deeper and broader social justice agenda, from law enforcement to the environment, this is the name of your replacement. Now, we will have to share the responsibility for this kind of work, but I humbly submit that it does fall quite heavily on those of us who are white and more connected to and influential with power. Of course, if there is still any political avenue for a contested convention, this deep bench strategy should be paired with an ultimatum to the Democratic bosses that we now may have the popular momentum to pressure them and embolden them to coalesce around another candidate. Warren seems more likely than Sanders for that. Now, just as I don't want to overstep when it comes to people's need to march, it's also my sincere hope that my African American brothers and sisters will not perceive this broader social justice agenda as a misappropriation of what is, first and foremost, your cause. I know that the first hard conversation we must have is whether the pursuit of a broad systemic reform that would benefit all of us, including African Americans, might risk alienating moderate voters who are wary of that wider agenda, thus costing us the entire election and the attainment of those narrower reforms focused on policing and criminal justice. Reforms that are so desperately urgent for African Americans. So let's have this conversation, and let's consider the possibility that those moderate voters really do acknowledge the broader problem now, and the need for broad solutions in this watershed moment, a moment captured by George Floyd's daughter, who said that her dad has changed the world. I just feel that we're being called upon to ensure that she's right. After I briefly discuss Goal 3, if you still have a moment, I share my thoughts on why I feel that this broader social justice platform is now more clearly necessary and thus more viable.